It's time to talk animated film. That's right. Cinema 9 podcast goes to the animated world for The Iron Giant. Does it hold up? Is it the best animated film of the 90s of all time? We'll find out today on a very special edition of the Cinema 9 podcast. Travis Roy, Eric Brancham, Michael Govier, three human beings who don't like labels. We just prefer to be humans. Keep it simple. And we'll talk movies today. So Cinema 9 pod at protonmail.com. Travis Roy, you selected this movie. You excited to talk about Iron Giant today?
Welcome to downtown Coolsville. Population us. I got to say it because I was first. Or among the first. Yes, hey, yeah, I am excited to talk about this movie and excited as always to be, united, the three of us, like Voltron, only with three of us and no Becca. Yeah, I'm doing good.
All right. Well, that sounds like fun.
How are you doing, Eric?
Yeah, how are you doing, Eric? You got you got a can of something there.
Here's beautiful Griffith, Indiana. We're doing fantastic. Not only do we have a Small Wave City Club Hazy IPA, but I am getting ready to embark on my first trip ever to Florida, beautiful St. George Island. I'm pretty excited.
All right, St. George. So we won't have you next week then, will we?
That's true. Kind of a sneak peek.
Let's enjoy our triumvirate tonight then.
We should really cherish it tonight more than usual. We'll have a guest host next week to sub in for Eric, Christian Haraminski, a fine young man that we've known, another part of our clan of movie-loving, pop culture curious people that we've known for many years.
Yeah,
so that'll be fun, and we'll announce his pick because I think Eric has it at the end of the show. I don't know it.
I don't either.
And I know Travis likes to be surprised too, right?
I did. I talked to Christian. He gave me the option. I said, no, I want to find out on the show.
Yay!
The way to do it when I can. I like it that way.
Yeah, no, I love that. Yeah, I like a little surprise. There's not always a lot of surprises in life. I mean, sometimes World War III happens. That could be a surprise.
My life is an empty shell. Just every now and then I lift it up and there's a little green bean underneath of it. Like, oh, there it is.
Love lift us up where we belong.
That hazy's kicking in already. All right.
Oh, so good. A little Joe Cocker to get you going. I mean, Officer to Gentleman, maybe the best soundtrack of all time.
No.
Yeah, far from it.
Is that hyperbole?
That's a dumb thing you said.
It's a good song, but name one other song. I'm confused.
I don't know another song from the Officer
so it's
and
probably
Gentleman.
not the best ever.
Holy shit! We have exploded. We have 224 subscribers now. That's an explosion
on YouTube.
We were at 186 like a week ago.
Yeah, thank you for following. If you've been following, if you're newly following, if you're watching and you're not following, please do follow. But hey, thank you either way.
Well done, Eric, everybody. Podcasting After Dark, they probably gave us a boost, though. They are an audio-based format, but hey, shit. People want to know who we are.
They have their new Patreon, the Carpenter Factor, where they're breaking down all the John Carpenter films. And from what I can tell, they're doing that on the same format, the video format as us. And guys, how much fun did we have with the fellas from Podcasting After Dark last week?
Best episode ever. So much fun.
What a
I had multiple people, outsiders, tell me that was a great episode. I don't know what made it so amazing, but I'm glad that it was amazing because we're grateful that our 100th episode could arguably be our finest hour.
It's always fun, but that was extra fun.
It's kind of a testament to like what movies can do because we don't really know Zach and Corey. Like we're fans of their show and what they're doing on social media, but you just get people that love film together and they can go on for just 2 hours like old friends, man. It just does so much socially for people that it was a fucking blast.
Yeah, and they're real good dudes. And also, I mentioned on the show before I've been binging Seinfeld, so I figured why not binge or get into Corey's other podcast, Cartwright, the podcast, a Seinfeld podcast, and I got to recommend that too. I'm just going to recommend all of their stuff, everything that these two guys do, Zach and Corey, is worth checking out. But the Cartwright podcast, I've been having a lot of fun with. That's been my drive to work lately.
Ooh, yeah, I checked it out as well. I'm like, this is certainly for me, and everyone loves Seinfeld for the most part. So I am now a Cartwright fan.
All right, we both started up. All right,
look at us. We listen to stuff.
Yeah, and if you looked at the last episode or episode 100 that had Podcasting After Dark on, and you thought, well, I've never seen Annihilators. I'll save that for when I watch Annihilators someday. One, watch Annihilators. Two, if you don't feel like watching Annihilators, you can listen to it anyway.
Oh, you're right. I think It's a movie of all the shows we've done. This is the movie you least need to see to still be able to enjoy the episode, I believe.
Probably, yeah. Realistically. But it was worth catching. That's for damn
This is exploitation. Yeah. I mean, so you know the genre, you'll fit right in. Trust me. It's a good time. Thanks again to Corey and Zach for coming on the show. Good times, Noodle Salad. I wanted to mention also the great William Hurt passed, and I don't think we could just gloss over that. I thought we should take a moment and say some commentary. I don't think that's how people talk, but William Hurt was definitely one of my more enjoyable actors over the years. There's a lot of roles. In fact, Kiss of the Spider-Woman, 1985, a very underrated performance, a unique performance, I think, in his career. He was fantastic. Him and Raul Julia. It's not a movie that I hear a lot of people talk about, and I want to recommend that movie. If you never saw William Hurt, or you've seen all of his movies, but that one, check it out.
It's funny that it's so not talked about because it's what he won his Academy Award for, right?
Yeah, right.
First one. He won 2, I think. One for that, one for Broadcast News. Is that right?
The Accidental Tourist.
I know he was nominated multiple times, but I know he won. And he won for. Yeah, I'm not Wikipedia. I'm not on it either. But
Wikipedia right now.
At any rate, no one really talks about that movie, and it's the one that got him a lot of attention when it did come out.
One of these actors.
I only knew it so well because my mom had it as a kid, so I never seen anything about it otherwise.
It was a blow, man, because we're starting to run out of these older actors that just had this quiet gravitas, just their name. You'd see it in the credits, and you knew that you were just in for a treat, man. I'm thinking of what he brought to Mr. Brooks, which is a silly thriller, but him as the conscience, it brings so much because it's a classically trained actor who knows his craft. And I sing the songs of The Village. I'll sing the songs of his performance in The Village to the day I die. It's so powerful, and he was always just such a rare treat.
I'm sorry. I just sing the songs. You rejoice.
Yeah.
You the Psalms of Hurt.
The Psalms of Hurt. My kids will be like, Dad, we love you. And I'll be like, he was powerful in the village. I don't care what anyone says.
Jesus, Joey.
Yeah, there it is. Yep, there it is.
By the way, guys, don't forget the Academy Award down for the shortest, acting performance of all time in the history of violence. He got nominated, which was him.
What's her name from Network?
That wasn't what's her name from.
He was nominated for History of Violence for his 10-minute.
No, I know, but I think the shortest performance to be nominated for Academy Award was, I can't think of her name, but the woman that played William Holden's wife in Network, I think, was the least amount of screen time.
Oh, that lady, she got nominated. That's hilarious.
She sure did.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right, man.
2 scenes. I wish I knew her name. I sometimes do.
Based on the historical review I've done, which is 2 minutes of research while you guys talked, it looks like he just won the one award for the Spider-Woman role, but many nominations, including broadcasting.
Incredible.
That's it. And, he also was fucked up on drugs and shit earlier in his life, and he got cleaned up, and I appreciate that. He got his life together and he was able to lead a more straightforward, peaceful life based on what I've read about him after he died. I dove into it for a while.
Have you shit there. Seen any of the allegations with Marlee Maitland?
Yeah.
That's unfortunate.
That's part of that. That's kind of what I was alluding to as well. I'm not saying it's, I know, or I'm right or wrong one way or the other.
Yeah.
But I do know that he did have addiction issues, and that doesn't justify behavior, but I just didn't know that part about it. So.
I had never actually heard about it until his death. It's always a bummer when anyone that you really, the famous person that you don't personally know, but when someone you care about goes and you're like, oh, I'm gonna, look into it. And you're like, oh, fuck, I didn't know
that. I also appreciate the fact though, because when people die, there's always such a positive vibe for the most part, which is, that's cool. We should appreciate the people we had, but let's be real about people. People are fallible and they fuck up and they make mistakes. And I think we should remember all the lessons that people taught us, not just hey, remember that one time it was fun? I think it's a fine line, though. A balance of okay, a little too much over here.
So that's a good point.
So get this. Beatrice Straight, Travis, Network.
Beatrice Straight.
Yeah. 5 minutes and 40 seconds. And not to be outdone from the same movie, Ned Beatty, rest in peace. 5 minutes, 53 seconds, supporting actor.
Oh, funny.
Yeah. Nomination or win?
A nomination.
Yeah, and I know Judi Dench had a pretty short.
Yeah.
What she won for it was a pretty short
Right.
scene, but I can't remember which film off the top of my head.
Shakespeare in Love. And then Ruby Dee,
Shakespeare in
American
Love.
Gangster, 10 minutes.
Yeah,
I think
there's a
most
few actors.
famously
Oh,
it
that's-
was most famously of all, I think, has got to be Tony Hopkins, Sounds of the Lambs. It says here 16 minutes. It's just Jesus Christ, an entire career
And he won.
summed up with that. Yeah.
He won. He won
Yeah,
for that
of
one.
course.
Okay. Well, at
Best
least he won for
actor,
The Father,
91.
right? A couple years
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah, he won for The Father last year.
Oh, there he can get, so he can move
Or
past
2
that.
years.
Yeah. So,
Anyway,
Patty, what's his Shaefsky?
Chayefsky?
If he writes it, he's people love it. I guess it's Academy Gold. Academy Gold, Jerry. The J. Shrey Way. My personal favorite animated movie might have to be Monsters Inc. or Spider-Verse, but this is in the top 5 for sure. Okay.
noble choices. Into the Spider-Verse is a quick shoot up the ladder for one of the best animated features I've ever seen as well.
Yeah, thank you, man.
You're a pro with this stuff, Travis. Monsters Inc. Does that make your top 5?
I love Monsters Inc. I love Monsters Inc. deeply. Yeah, I don't know that it makes my top 5. There's a time it definitely would have, but yeah, it is great. It wasn't crazy about the sequel, prequel, whatever.
Ooh, okay. Well, hey,
Any
shit
old
happens. Any old who will do it. If it's got a backbeat, you can smoke weed. All right. So don't forget, Cinema9Pod, protonmail.com. 5-star reviews on Apple and Spotify. Plus, if you're checking out the show on YouTube, you can like the show that you watch. I guess that helps. We're just trying to look for ways to connect with you guys and let YouTube know that we're somewhat cool. And all that.
Yeah,
Let's give it over to Travis Roy.
Yeah, if you have liked or followed or shared or reviewed or rated or any of that kind of stuff, thank you. And if you haven't, please do. Let's get into what we've been watching, the quarantine viewing picks. Naturally, I wanted to watch a William Hurt movie, right? And my first instinct was the first movie I think of when I think of William Hurt is actually a movie that he did with his former wife. What's her name? Mary Elizabeth Hurt, The Doctor. But unfortunately, that's not streaming anywhere, so I didn't watch The Doctor. I'm like, all right, well, fine, I'll watch Altered States. But that wasn't streaming anywhere either, so I didn't watch Altered States. So I watched Broadcast News for the first time, which was
my God!
Yeah, I'd never seen it. It was okay. It was good. I wasn't in love with it. It was okay. I loved Albert Brooks's performance. Let me put it that way.
Yes,
I loved
so good in that.
Albert Brooks's performance. I wasn't crazy about the character necessarily, but I loved his performance. And I loved Holly Hunter, like I love her in everything I've ever seen her in.
Low-key Jack Nicholson just hanging out.
Yep, low-key Jack, and a little bit of social commentary about what's happening with with news and that kind of stuff, like Network Light, I guess. Speaking of network, I'm never a huge fan of love triangle movies necessarily. I'm just kind of like, okay. So that was kind of where I ran aground with that a little bit, but it was certainly good. I could see why people talked about it for so long,
Okay. I love that movie.
And then speaking of the podcasting boys, I figured these guys are full of all kinds of great recommendations. So I went and watched one of the ones that they recommended, that Zach recommended, Walter Hill's 1981 film Southern Comfort. It was good. It was a good movie. Yeah. I haven't seen a ton of Walter Hill films. I've seen like the big ones. This is one of those, one of the first smaller ones I've watched, but I feel like he takes kind of tried and true tropes and genres and then puts a really unique spin on them. And this is like the deliverance genre, I guess you could say, but there's some really interesting things happening here. And it's one of the first Fred Ward roles. And you got Powers Booth with like almost full head of hair, which is hilarious. And, oh shit! Keith Carradine is such a good actor. I really, really, really liked the stuff that he did, and he didn't star a lot that I saw. And I think I need to go back and watch more of his stuff. I think he's a really underrated actor. So that was great. Great recommendation.
Cool. Awesome.
Yeah. Oh man, I watched so many movies. I watched Just Like Heaven, which was rated on
Reese Witherspoon
with Reese. Yeah, I don't know why I never watched it before, but I totally enjoyed it with Mark Ruffalo and her. It was right up my alley. It was good. I would recommend that one. I watched the Adam Project, that new Ryan Reynolds film.
Boy,
dude, it was good. I thoroughly enjoyed the Adam Project. Did it hit a lot of familiar notes? Yes, it did. Was it a unique and good take on the time travel genre? Absolutely. Yeah, this is I think people are going to talk about this movie and watch this movie for a while. I think this is one of the better things that Netflix has had to offer for a while, especially when it comes to like the action family genre. They have been turning out pretty good dramas for a while, some serious hard hitters. But when it comes to like the big kind of blockbuster movies, a lot of them kind of fall flat. This one doesn't. I thought the Adam Project was real good. Speaking of going straight to streaming and animated film, I fucking loved Turning Red. Pixar's new film, Turning Red. People are upset. It talks about people's bodies. People are upset that it talks about Toronto.
Oh shit! Oh boy.
There's all kinds of issues people have. Oh no, but I loved it. I very emotionally invested in the film. It does things that it's geared towards say 10 to 14-year-olds. Not little kids. This is parental guidance is suggested, but anybody that's up in arms about this movie, like get the fucking stick out of your ass and watch the cartoon. Anyways, that's that's what I have to say about that. And speaking of animated films, I watched Flea from 2021. This movie has the unique honor of the first Academy Award to be the first film Academy nominated for 3 Best Feature categories. It's nominated for Best International Film, it's nominated for Best Documentary, and it's nominated for Best Animated Feature. And I hope it wins at least one of those, because I got to tell you guys, I think this is my main recommendation for the week.
Wow.
Flea is, every now and then you watch a movie that's challenging, but I think that everyone should watch Flea. It's on HBO Max, it's on Hulu, but I literally think it should be required viewing for all human beings. If you've ever felt a brief moment of empathy for refugees, if you ever gave any thought whatsoever for what life is like for a refugee and what it would be like to have to flee your country and your family, I really think that everyone should watch Flea. It was a tour de force. It was fantastic.
Wow. Okay.
And if you guys are unfamiliar, it's a documentary that's just a guy's life. It's just a story of one random refugee, but he's so afraid of blowback that much of it is animated to like change his face and stuff and change his settings. So you hear him like, talking with his husband in his kitchen and that kind of stuff, but they're all just animated versions of themselves. It's really interesting. And it was great. So I strongly recommend Flea. Last but not, I got 2 more here, a few more. I'll try and finish this up.
Bring it.
I watched Forrest Gump with my students.
Okay.
In one of my classes, and one of my
wow.
seniors.
What do they think about it? What do kids nowadays think about it?
They liked it, but I do teach at a religious school, so they found it kind of raunchy in some places that I kind of forgotten how some of this stuff was a little actually more risky. We watched it in high school, but it was maybe a little more risque than I remember.
Or the pause button on that
on the theater.
Early Jenny scene.
Yeah, that in particular, I think was
traumatizing. I didn't see it that way.
Forrest
Gump was, very important to me. I wouldn't ever defile Forrest Gump like that. I find that to be a little disrespectful, but that was my experience for some reason. I remember I was 14 years old and it came out in the theater. I remember seeing a commercial on TV. I was like, what is this? It just kind of grabbed me in a weird way where I had to see this movie. And when it came out on VHS, I remember it was spring of 95.
Mother's Day. Came out on Mother's Day. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Spring of 95. Perfect. And I came home from a tennis tournament and the parents were gone for a weekend and I was so excited. I had the whole house to myself and I put it on the VHS and I had food and I was happy. And I was about as happy as a 15-year-old guy. Well, actually I was 14, right? 14-year-old can be. That's a total tangent on your Forrest Gump commentary, but that movie meant so much to me once upon a time.
I'm glad it brought back memories for you.
Five times in the theater. Most I've ever seen a movie in the theater. And that's the thing, because I've been hearing some shit online that the movie gets shit nowadays online, to be honest with you, for its whole Reagan era, everything's so squeaky clean, and why are we celebrating his dimness? Everything's accidental. I think that's all horseshit.
I'm gonna have to say, I know that there's people that have come around, and Jay Shea Ray, thank you. Definitely check out Flea. I know that there's a lot of people that have gone out of their way to shit on Forrest Gump over the last few years, and I have something to say to those people. Fuck you.
Thank you.
Wow.
No, any criticism.
That's a power play right there.
Any criticisms people have of their own, they're welcome to them. But I gotta say, I think it's still a great film, especially Hanks's performance. I mean, he deserved 2 Academy Awards in a row. He is so incredible in it. I loved it.
He falls into the role. He really does.
Yeah, you don't think for 1 second about the Burbs, Big, anything while you're watching it. He's Forrest.
Yeah.
Yep.
Lore Master.
Lore Master agrees, by the way. Lore Master loved it. Just along with Batman Forever. And that's not a good movie, but I was there too. I watched both those movies a lot in the 90s. So
yeah.
Come on. What do you want me to say? I'm not supporting Batman Forever.
It's fun. You can come out as a fan. I have openly, and I can
fuck that shit. No retconning here.
You don't have to try and hustle us into your game like the rest of us are happily.
I will say I thought Val Kilmer was a good Batman. He was a good Bruce Wayne. Val Kilmer was a rock solid Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, I'll give you that. I'll wrap this up. I revisited Bad Words, still good. I watched Belfast, much nominated Belfast.
Okay. What are we thinking here?
Did you watch it, Eric?
No.
Oh, it was great. It was really good. Yeah, I mean, it's the first DV film that Branagh has done with his regular DP, and I forget the guy's name, but man, fucking film is dead. This looked incredible. It looked so incredible. It just looks so good. I can't go on enough about how well shot it is. It just looks fantastic, and the story was good. There's a reason why it's getting all the eyes and attention on it. This is a really good movie. I like Belfast quite a bit. Definitely recommend it. And last but not least,
came in his pants, guys.
I didn't do that. That's
cream in his pants.
I'm going to be the only host to not talk about that in this moment. Last but not least, I found myself with an unexpected afternoon off and figured I got some time to kill. I should go back to the movies. And I went to a completely empty theater to revisit Spider-Man No Way Home, which was so good. I liked it the first time. I loved it the first time, but revisiting it, like part of me when I first watched it was like, this is intense. There's so much going on. Like, am I as into it as I think I am, or am I just kind of dazzled by all of this movement? And man, it's so fucking good. It's so good. Yeah, I really love Spider-Man No Way Home. So
Mike, did you see it? Did you see it, Mike?
I gotta see that fucker. It's on my list, but I didn't go to the theater again like Licorice Pizza. It got caught up in the same
you're gonna wish you saw it in theaters. It's still in theaters, man. It's still in a bunch of theaters. I mean,
can I see it? I'm gonna look it up right. Okay, yeah, I'll look into that then. Maybe I'll go after the show. No, I got work to do. I'm lying. Okay, we'll see that movie though. I saw Licorice Pizza. It took some time, and in fact, after Eric goes, I'm going to reveal a movie that I saw that some of us really wanted to see, but we're not able to. So stay tuned for that. Right after this. There's no
come on.
Eric, you're up.
You watch Come On.
No, I did not. I did not.
I'm telling you, man. I've been watching so much early Bob Barker episodes of The Price is Right that I had a really hard time watching movies. I can't help it. Like, I'm a habitual personality, and once I start down this rabbit hole, that's all I do. But I did manage to sneak in, and if you listen to us on Instagram or check out our page, and if you've been following the channel, you know that I've been doing some sort of weird 90s action thriller on this past weekend. So I did a triple threat. We had Deep Blue Sea, the Rennie Harlan film from 99, followed by Anaconda from 1997, and it concluded by Dante's Peak, the volcano film from also 97. And I had a lot of fun with this trilogy, man. They just don't make movies like this anymore with big budgets. Let's be honest. They all sucked. They're all horrible, but they're just fun to watch, man. So, I checked myself and I sat back and I had a lot of laughs with Anaconda, especially. So ridiculous. Like, how the fuck did this get the green light? How are these actors saying these lines without walking off the set?
I mean, didn't it turn out
Monkey blood.
Monkey blood. Best line in Hollywood history.
Cartwheeling stuffed monkey gets spit out of the stupid end. It's so dumb.
Owen Wilson's in this.
There's been a lot of movie quotes we've thrown around throughout the years, but monkey blood, it's up there for maybe most oft repeated.
Wait, guys, look at this. Look at this. You gotta see this comment. Look at this. Cool. Hey, thanks, Naked HD XYZ.
Okay.
Cool.
Online strips without clothing. Don't forget to say the full name.
What is their message? Envelope, check mark, drunk? Like, is it?
Blocked. They just, we're being invaded. We just got commented 8 times in a row. You're blocked. Sorry, strippers. No offense to stripping. That's great. But
we love strippers. We just hate spammers.
great profession.
Exactly. I could have said it better myself.
Anyway, I'm sitting there thinking about like the like the studio, like somebody walks in with the script for Deep Blue Sea, and what do they say? Like, okay, here we go.
Jaws,
it's like Jaws. It's like
Jurassic
Jaws,
Park.
but like the sharks can cure Alzheimer's disease. So we gotta bring in a team to capture the sharks and like extract the cure for Alzheimer's from great white shark. Really stupid. Every actor phoning it in. Thomas Jane is doing the best he can, but not even he can save this. Really dumb. And that's pretty much it. I watched the TMNT animated film from 2007. It's just bad. It's just bad. So yeah, I'm
sorry.
Yeah, I'm still in this Price is Right run, dude. I cannot believe these prices are ridiculous, dude. A Ford Mustang, $3,000 in 1982.
Did they play? What's that one? Clico?
Blinko didn't come along. I'm still in like the 76 to 78 era. So yeah, lot of harassment on Bob Barker's part.
I was gonna say, did Bob Barker get handsy with anybody? Because
extremely handsy. Yeah, it's very awkward.
It's not Family Feud level.
No,
he's not kissing 12-year-old girls on the lips, but
Right.
it is very handsy.
He's not grabbing a husband's ass while the wife watches, right? I mean, that's
that
Actually, yes.
revolution
But,
from the 60s into the 70s kind of went off the rails there.
As long as he gives you that dinette set, I guess it's all good.
Yeah, I got a new car. Boop, boop, doo. Yeah. What was that guy's name? The announcer, Roddy. Hey, Roddy.
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 a real name, right?
Peace, man. Rod, rest in peace.
Got to check out Bad News Bears.
Oh, yeah, I never saw that. Walter Matthau, like baseball team or something.
Funny. It's the second time today that's come up in my life.
Jackie Earle Haley is
Yeah.
one of the kids.
Oh, was he really?
Like Destiny.
Yeah. Yep.
Tatum O'Neal, right?
I could watch that.
Tatum O'Neal. It was like the girl
Yeah,
on the
she was
team. I think.
the one that was Tatum O'Neal. That's correct.
Thank you. Well, Eric's looking at me like I'm a moron, so I want to make sure I wasn't crazy. And if you're crazy, by the way, it's okay. We all get crazy. It's part of life.
Come on, let's get nuts.
We're gonna
We get a little crazy. Remember that?
Very well.
Oh, it came out in
Seal, on the
76.
album
That's
Seal.
why
Okay.
Laura mentioned it. It came out in
you, Laura
1976, another 70. Okay, thank you, Laura, for the clarification. By the way, I just looked it up. Spider-Man No Way Home is playing at the theater that's a mile from my house. 4 showtimes tomorrow. So I still have a chance to pull this off. Now, if I can find the time between trying to help my brother and picking up Leanne, I really do want to see this in the theater. I thought I was over. I thought I'd missed my window, but I haven't.
I mean, as Jay just mentioned there, it is digital, so you have that fallback. But I was happy to see it in theaters. To me, it's a big movie. It's a big movie. I think that I think you're gonna wish you saw it in theaters.
Yeah, I just got out of COVID, got out of the habit of not going to the theater.
Sure.
Made the return with the Batman. By the way, did anyone do a second viewing of the Batman yet?
I was gonna go to that. It was an issue of timing. I was like one or the other. So
It's hitting HBO Max, I think, on April 19th.
I know
So,
it's a
yeah.
little too soon.
What?
I'm like, but
Holy
here, Mike,
shit.
actually, would you want to go with me to see it in an IMAX theater? Because I'm thinking if I go see it a second time, I'm going to see it in IMAX theater if I'm going to see it at all.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
We should do that.
Let's try to make that happen then.
Let's do it.
Let's talk off air.
Yes.
Actually, let's make our plans on air to stop the show while it's recording here.
Let's
and
share our phone
completely
numbers
annoying.
and
734. Okay. So I watched The Iron Giant, which we'll talk about next. Does it hold up or not? Is it the best animated movie of all time? You'll find out. I also watched To Live and Die in LA. So
you did. Eric's just stepped away.
I know I wanted to tell Eric this, but I'm grateful to our friend who also listens to the show and said that our 100th episode was outstanding. Eric Allen, shout out to you, Eric. Hello, buddy. Eric has the Plex. Use the Plex app on TV, the Plex app that he has his server. So whenever he uploads movies on there, I can watch them. And he found To Live and Die in LA. So I watched it. And wow, this is fascinating film. You talk about gritty, raw, 85, Friedkin, Bill Peterson's very young. Yeah. Bill William is
Bring it. I'm ready to hear some fucking praise.
He's
back
so
when he was
babyface.
William Dafoe?
Yeah, it's pretty wild. And John Pankow getting a lot of screen time in this movie. Who
Really?
I knew his face. I'm like, it's that guy.
Yeah.
And I had to look it up where else I knew him from. And
Mad About You.
Mainly, it's Mad About You. And the other, I also knew him from Secret of My Success. That was the one I was thinking of.
Oh, okay.
So if you see his face, look up or Google John Pankow. For those of you listening, you'll know
Just
exactly who that is.
80s like receding hairline.
Yeah, he really did. It's kind of a tough sell as a Secret Service agent for me. I mean, I guess that was debatable. But Bill Peterson was badass, and Willem Dafoe was outstanding. And you got Dean Stockwell as a scummy lawyer. That's fun. And the soundtrack, the score, all the music's done by Wang Chung. It's very clearly established music by Wang Chung in the credits. So you know it's 1985.
But okay.
No, but it's definitely of its time. I will say that.
That's cool.
It's fun.
I enjoyed it. It was up my alley. It definitely was. It's not your typical mainstream action movie, and I would say it's kind of an action movie. There's maybe the longest car chase I've ever seen in my life in this movie. It's really, really long. It makes more sense later on in the movie why it's so long, but I'm not going to spoil that. So I just wanted to say I watched it. To Live and Die in L.A., 1985. Billy Friedkin, check it out. It's really a solid film, and I'm glad I got to see it.
Now it's Billy.
Hey, Billy! I'm sorry, Mr. Friedkin. I'll go back to Mr. Jay says, definitely one of the best theater experiences for me. Go see it while you still can, dude. Spider-Man reference.
Yeah, talking about Spider-Man.
And Jay also loves, I've watched the Batman 3 times now. Wow. That's
the more I think about it, the more I love it, and I still haven't seen it a second time. So
I will tell you, I've really grown to enjoy and hum that damn theme a lot. So I really did.
The Batman.
He's the Batman.
Yeah.
It haunts you, man.
It definitely. It's good.
Fucking
it's
awesome.
Simple, but well done. Tasteful.
Lyrics by Travis Roy.
That's pretty much it. I got some other movies I need to watch. There's some more I want to knock out before the Academy Awards happen, like Coda, Power of the Dog. I need to see those.
Watch Coda.
I kind of see both. of those, man.
Okay. It's on the list here. I want to get it done. So
you got a week.
Really try to make it so. Really? Holy cow!
Yeah, next weekend.
Next Sunday.
Next Sunday.
I did want to say. I also watched Turning Red. I loved it, man. Like,
isn't it great?
Yeah, it's just so ballsy. Like, not ballsy like how dare they? It's just like, fuck you, we're doing this. Yeah. It's time to do this.
Yeah.
And like, at first I was like, she's kind of annoying, but like, this is how kids act. Believe me, I teach 3rd grade. This is exactly how kids act. This whole, like, all the friends are just so much fun. And like, to have the villain of a Disney picture be some little girl's mother, I mean, that's so ballsy. I loved it.
It is. And she's not like a traditional villain, but she's certainly like the obstacle to be overcome.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're right, man. It's just a really sweet movie.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Disney's got some issues recently. There's this fucking law in Florida. Yeah. And Bob Iger, the CEO, is really just acting like an asshole here that is really homophobic, in my opinion. If you want to know more about it, you can Google it. Florida law. It's about homosexuals not being allowed to do certain things. I actually don't even know all the details. I just know he's a douchebag.
It's real quick. It's in education and corporate settings that you basically cannot discuss anything to do with LGBT.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, fuck you.
And a similar law is up in Georgia. So another Hollywood stronghold. So let's hope that Hollywood turns its ire there as well to express its discontent, and rather than just leaning on the tax rebates.
That's true. I mean, it's home of The Annihilators was filmed there. So
and a million other movies.
Yes. Legendary place for film. Okay, there it is. That's what we've been watching. Cinema9pod at protonmail.com. In fact, actually, I will check the email. I haven't checked it in a while. Anybody else?
I think we got one from I think we got a couple, to be honest with you, man.
Oh geez,
really? No shit. That'd be exciting. I only check the email when we do the show. I know that's not really
while we're on the air. You mean?
Yes, in particular, while we're on the air with a slow internet connection, so I have to vamp it out a little bit.
Is that what entertainment sounds like?
Yeah, boop, 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 the Jeopardy
Yeah,
noise.
Jeopardy, the category.
Christian. Next week's guest host for Eric Brandstrom, Christian, wrote us on March 11th, and he said, "Gents, I would like to commend the show on helping me come to the realization that as much as I worry about having too many streaming subscriptions that I've forgotten or don't use much, it's comforting to know that Eric has the same issue and is still able to survive. And on a teacher's salary, no less. Hearing all that food and drinking or drinkware clanging and clashing in the background really helps remind us that he is still healthy and well fed, despite these costly and unnecessary monthly fees. For that, I thank you. Wink, wink. Just cause."
Excuse me. I do the best I can on a teacher's salary.
Yeah, how about that?
I like, I like my full 5-course dinners during the show. You just have to deal with that.
Note that he's the only host who ever eats during the show.
Oh, the old drinkware. That's good. Yeah, you are known to have a drink in your hand, so that's funny.
Get some corn on the cob out.
If you would, Steve's having a laugh, so there you go. We love you, Eric. You know that.
See, we're laughing because we know it's all true.
Dick.
Yeah, what a dick. If you like that humor, then you'll enjoy next week's episode when Christian joins us live as a special guest host. Jay wants to say that he honestly thinks Disney put Luca and Turning Red straight to streaming because of the undertones. It's strange that they were completely free with no premiere access. Almost like they aren't confident. I think he's saying that.
I think that's an interesting point. I mean, COVID is an easy explanation there, but he might be onto something that the movies that they're taking bigger chances on, they're maybe not trying to draw as much attention to, maybe.
They're also trying to get Disney Plus subscriptions. I mean,
Sure.
Got to keep those shareholders happy. I mean,
Right.
That's pretty much all it is.
And apparently the way that they combat the they say gay bill is by providing content where, a lesbian kisses, there's a lesbian kiss in the background of one scene for 0.5 seconds, that kind of thing.
Hey,
oh my goodness.
We're talking about Walt Disney here. All you got to do is check out the Wikipedia page. You'll learn all you need to know about that motherfucker.
In honesty, Turning Red was a tremendous step forward for them. I mean, it's, a baby step by the rest of society's standards, but for them, it was a big deal. So,
hey, corporations are growing little by little. They'll get there someday.
They don't want to alienate that Chinese audience or whatever audience. It's always like some audience are trying to avoid upsetting, right? Russian audience,
whatever one is providing a big chunk of money to their profits. Yes, that's true.
John Cena, you get 3-hour apology for calling Taiwan a country.
Taiwan
is a country. For now it is. Anyways, that's the Cinema Night Pod email. CinemaNightPod at protonmail.com. Send us one and we'll read it on the air. All right, it's time to find out. Does today's movie, selected by the Travis Roy, 1999's Iron Giant, does it hold up? Let's find out. So, The Iron Giant came out in 1999, directed by Brad Bird, and Jennifer Aniston's one of the voices in this. I didn't even look it up. Is it Harry Connick Jr., the beatnik?
Harry Connick Jr. is the beatnik, and Christopher McDonald is Kent.
Oh, I got that one. Oh, yeah.
He's got one of those voices.
We got Emmett Walsh as the unfortunate sailor in the beginning.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, no shit. Okay, that's cool.
Emmett actually still alive. Still out there kicking it around.
He's still yes.
Man of the year.
He was just in something. I just, what was it? He was in something and I couldn't believe it. I was like, holy
glad to know he's still working. I always liked him.
He was in was it Succession? I was like, holy shit.
Oh, really?
Emmett Walsh is alive. This is
hopping in. I mean, he's in his mid 80s, late 80s.
My mistake. It was The Righteous Gemstones, but still, yes, this is really new. So, Travis, can you take us back to 1999? Do you remember seeing this movie in the theater? I don't believe you saw it in the theater.
I did not see it in the theater. As much as I love animated film, as I've discussed many times on the show, 1999 I was 19 years old. So this movie came out just at the sweet spot where I would have been like, I'm a little too old and cool and busy for this. So I didn't see it in theaters, and I didn't really watch it on VHS exactly or DVD. I have a really unique way that I watch this movie. I worked with Eric and a few other people at Blockbuster Video. And if you ever went to Blockbuster, you may recall those trailer tapes that were about 2 hours long of just the same fucking shit over and over again, the same commercials, the same music videos, the same goddamn narrator. It was so irritating. And every now and then, in sweet bliss, those tapes would break, and we wouldn't have anything to replace them. So we'd actually be able to, like, they would allow us, management would allow us, because pretty strict franchise thing going on there. So that management would allow us to watch PG or G-rated films if the trailer tape broke. We should have broken it more often, but would have been suspicious. So I remember throwing this one on a few times in those moments. Like, I just kind of had it on in the background. I didn't watch it that closely. At the end of my shift, I paid a little more attention to, so I put it on like a few times in those occasions. But so I saw it like in bits and pieces, and I liked it, but I just never really gave it its fair shake in a proper sit down setting until last night. So while I'd seen it, I hadn't truly watched it. So that's my experience with the Iron Giant, and that, and the fact that I've watched it go on to be regarded as a classic by a lot of people. I'm like, I should get eyes on this again.
Okay, well, I respect that and commend it. What about you, Eric? Did you see this movie called The Iron Giant in '99?
Problem was they didn't market it. Like, I never saw one commercial about this thing going into theaters, which it did. And secondly, like, I just wasn't, I would always wait for animated films to get good word of mouth, because this was a fucking weird time for animated films. This is like when the Disney Renaissance is over. So we got like Tarzan, and it's like, who cares? And we got Meet the Robinsons, and we've got like Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island, and just stuff that's like not really doing Prince of Egypt, stuff that's not doing animation any favors. So you can't really trust anything that's coming out. And you have to wait for word of mouth. So when I first saw this, I do remember it being a breath of fresh air, because I'm getting like Amblin vibes, and I'm getting like Joe Dante vibes. Ooh. So I loved it when it first came out. Haven't seen it since, bro.
Oh, dude, I'm so sorry for you. I feel for you, man.
This was your first viewing, yes?
Oh, yeah. Jay says, grew up loving this movie and watched it on repeat. Wow. This and E.T. were two movies that really shaped me. Holy shit.
If those two movies really shaped him, I bet he takes in a lot of stray dogs.
It's also interesting because they're pretty much the same movie.
There's some similarities. I don't know if they're the same movie, but there's definitely, I don't remember E.T. like going on a murder spree, but there is some similarities here.
But technology similarities.
To get into since you brought that up, before we get into the reviews, this movie is based on a book called The Iron Man by a guy named Ted Hughes that came out in 1968. The husband of Sylvia Plath when she killed herself, actually.
Holy shit!
Weirdly enough, But so
Ted
Hughes. So as I was watching this, part of me was like, well, there's a lot of things here that feel familiar to me, but I don't know to what extent filmmakers that I grew up watching grew up reading this book.
And this was Vin Diesel's audition for Groot.
Clearly.
By the way, there's other names we didn't mention this movie. Cloris Leachman is in this.
Yeah, right.
John Mahoney's in this as the general who shows up with the army.
Yeah.
I love Mahoney. He's a good dude.
Oh, I love Mahoney too.
But I clearly never saw this film. And this is my first viewing, so I have no past experience. But I will echo what Eric said. This movie completely escaped me. I'm usually aware of movies that come out, especially movies that are kind of beloved. And this one is beloved. And I just didn't hear anything about it until the mid 2000s ish, maybe like later 2000s. It just was not in the ethos in my world.
I think this is a true cult classic. I think this is a movie that didn't make a huge splash when it came out, but the people that watched it loved it and, showed their kids it later on, that kind of thing.
Okay. Plus the kid's name Hogarth. How cool is that?
Hog hug.
Hog hug.
Hog hug.
All right, so this movie is going to be very loved. I think this one is clearly in the 8 range. We don't always get this type of movie, but this has got to be like an 8.3.
I saw.
Okay.
Oh.
So I'll abstain.
I didn't see, but like the love is palpable. I'm going to say, I'll go a little lower. I'll say 8.1.
That's what it is. It's 8.1.
Okay.
Well, it cracks the 8 marker. That's a legendary status, borderline legendary status.
Yep.
Beloved. You guys say beloved or beloved?
It depends on, how I'm feeling. How saucy am I in that moment?
Sure.
Is it cursed or cursed? It's cursed if I'm like feeling dramatic. Otherwise, it's just cursed.
By the way, I'm going to do the reviews here, but I just got sidetracked by A new show coming out from Mike Myers. Have you heard about this at all?
I saw the preview last night. I was like, what is this?
The Guru TV show?
Is this?
Oh no, not the Guru. God, what a train wreck. Apparently, it's called the Pentaverate.
Yeah, Pentaverate Secret Society in the future.
What if five? No.
Rolls right
what if
off the
5
tongue.
men? Yeah, what if 5 men, secret dudes you didn't know about, have been altering events on Earth since the Black Plague? That's what I read as the tag.
Oh, so the Eternals.
Okay, yeah, except they're like he's played all the characters, I assume. Anyways, I was like, okay, well, this is something.
Oh, I gotta tell you, I am not into the idea of. I mean, I want Mike Myers to come back. I don't want to see him playing 5 different fucking characters like it's goddamn, Hercules. I'm how many fat suits do we need to see Mike Myers in?
A lot of fat suits.
Is that an ego thing, you think, or
I don't know?
I
think it's maybe a little bit of an ego thing, but I think it's also like a throwback thing. It's kind of a old school way to do comedy, right? You're everybody, especially if you're telling like a monologue.
He's like obsessed with Peter Sellers, so he's trying to do that. But watching that preview, I was like, this is like early 2000s. It's over. Like this whole deal is done.
He needs to stick to drama and Tarantino films if he's going to make his slow comeback.
That's true. So on Rotten Tomatoes, 96%.
That is high.
Wow. That is
very
high.
The highest
it
on
might
our
be.
show.
We'll have to check the Doughboy. Our Doughboy is our statistician. Doughboy, check the records on that. All our episodes. 90% from the fans, so that's outstanding. There's not much discrepancy between the fans and the reviewers, but let's see what the reviewers say. We didn't get any reviews on last week's show. I missed this segment. We're back. Let's see what Rachel Wagner says. She says it is beautiful and moving, and the animation is gorgeous. David Anson says this is not exactly standard children's fare, but kids and their parents should be smitten by its wit and wisdom.
Okay.
What
else you got?
Brad Bird fills the CinemaScope screen with wit and beauty in this modern-day fairy tale. Michael Stragow of The New Yorker.
The CinemaScope screen.
Yeah.
Okay, because we're in the 50s. All right.
He's from The New Yorker. He's got to say CinemaScope, so he's just being an asshole.
He's got to be polysyllabic.
Yeah, it's required. It's in the contract, I believe. I think there's no doubt about that. No see any Destin yet here. I don't know if Destin's going to chime in.
It might be too early for Destin.
It might be, but you never know. I always hold out hope for Destin and Goody Coons.
Yeah.
Kim Newman of Empire Magazine says the big attraction is the Iron Giant itself. At one stage, it transforms into a scary alien being with War of the Worlds heat rays and impressive zapping capability.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, geez, Kim. But it is mostly a lovably old-fashioned clanking bot.
Maybe it was good that kids, maybe parents would want to know that there's going to be a moment where the robot goes full murder bot, though. That's maybe not the worst spoiler in the world.
Yeah,
I think it's fair. Good old Eves.
Old
Eves. Imagine E.T., Eric, as a towering metal man, and you have some of the appeal of the Iron Giant, an enchanting animated feature about a boy who makes friends with a robot from outer space. I think you're telling us the plot. Are you saying anything about it?
Be a little easier to just imagine Johnny Five if he was about 90 foot shorter.
Ooh,
it's pretty much that movie.
Okay. I want to read one negative review. I found one from Stephen Hunter of the Washington Post. The movie, as beautifully drawn, as sleek and engaging as it is, has the annoyance of incredible smugness. It is, one could say, blinded by the hindsight. Blinded by the hindsight.
I understood all those words individually, but strung together, it started to lose meaning to me.
Blinded by the hindsight?
Hindsight of what? What are we missing?
I actually thought that maybe there was more, like you were going to keep talking, but no, that was the end of the sentence.
Yeah, I wish I had more to offer there, Mr. What's-his-face from that place. Anyways, that was the only... I mean, this is just filled with positive tomatoes. So no Destin, no Goody Coons, but overwhelmingly people just really enjoy it.
So like, this is my big question. Like, this is our first animated film, and I'm so glad Travis brought it to the table. And he chose a great one. because I mean, it's a cult favorite. It's not like something classic from the Disney catalog that people are just going to be like, "Are you kidding me? This is a masterpiece." How did you guys approach this? I mean, did you come in all like you're used to doing with pen and paper, even though this is like something that has just probably hundreds of people attached to that? It's such a collaboration because it's such a different medium. Like, how did you come at this critically?
Travis?
Well, I'm not a trained critic. I'm not I mean, I went to film school, but I wouldn't say that, and I went to history school, but I wouldn't say I'm a film historian exactly.
Went to critic school.
Critic school. I mean, so I don't know how, like, for me, part of the honest, approach to our show is just that, like, hey, we're just viewers, we're just fans, we just like movies. And that, so I approach the movie very much as a viewer, as a person sitting on his couch. Is this a good movie? Did I spend a lot of time thinking about the hundreds of people involved in making it? No more than I would any other film that I watch that literally involves 100 or more people to make it. So I really did not think about that at all. I went very, I'm a very what's in my face kind of person. I have trouble thinking too deeply about things. I take a lot of things at face value. So I really just watched it and just received it.
I would say I threw it on. I was in bed. I actually did. I admit that in the beginning, that fucking kids are annoying in movies sometimes, and I'm just not having it. So early on, when he comes in to the restaurant with that squirrel, I was like, okay, yep, hijinks, who cares, blah, blah, blah. The kid definitely turned me off initially, but, things did change later. But my overall viewpoint was, okay, this is animated, but it's taken seriously by a lot of people. So I did look at it with a critical eye, of course, but also a discerning and open-minded eye. I didn't think, hey, this has got to be stupid because it's animated or anything like that. I would say it's business as usual for me, Eric. I think so.
What about you, Eric?
Yeah, well, I bring it up only because it'd be very easy to just like dismiss it and like just kind of have it on in the background because it is an animated film. But one of the really good things that this movie does, it is avoid like especially late 90s kind of animated tropes. Like we're before like DreamWorks, like Shrek and like Kung Fu Panda. Who was that asshole? Like Kung all those are going to come in and just do like like fart jokes and like current like try to like mirror like counterculture and stuff. So like this movie kind of feels like it could be just like an actual live action movie that just happens to be animated. So like right off the bat when you start watching it, that's kind of the cool thing for me is like I couldn't just like throw it on and be like, this is kind of a cartoon. I'm just gonna say that like the animation is good, because the story immediately like has a lot of like emotion and like you get invested in the characters immediately. And you don't really see that in a lot of anime movies with just start like, oh, here's your character, and then like here's the song they sing or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I've never been that crazy about the animation style of this film. I think that the what's beautiful to me is the story. It's the story. Now there are parts of it that I think are beautifully done and beautifully animated. But there's a lot of foliage and like fall colors and that kind of stuff that looks cool. But
perspective, yeah.
Yeah, some forced perspective stuff. That kind of, there is some stuff to marvel at here. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, I've never been that into. I mean, the animation style is kind of deliberately a little bit classic, right? Because I mean, the movie takes place in 1957, so it doesn't look full on Warner Brothers, but it looks like an updated kind of Warner Brothers, just 2D style. There's not a ton, like the characters look like cartoon characters. They're not trying to make them look like real humans, which they couldn't have done with that kind of animation in 1999 anyways. And had they tried, you would have ended up with something like Polar Express, which had kids shitting themselves across the world. So you don't want that. But
I don't want kids shitting themselves, no.
Yeah, so I'm not dazzled. I've never been dazzled by the animation style here. It's never been the big draw for me, even when I wasn't super into it as a kid, or as a 19-year-old I wasn't like more into the story.
Laura's pissed. The squirrel scene is a masterpiece. I'm sorry, Laura. I apologize for that.
I was hoping it was going to be a raccoon again, but it was a squirrel.
Oh, the raccoon in the water when he does a cannonball. Whee!
Yeah, and we get introduced to Dean, the world's hippest and most kid-friendly beatnik.
Sure. Yeah, he's definitely read On the Road, and
he's got a soul patch.
He
likes
works
jazz.
Yeah, he was the most stereotypical beatnik you could probably draw. And, that's fine, I guess. I mean, you could have colored a little bit of variation there, but I enjoy that character. He's fun. It's really important to have him in this movie for me, because if Dean's not in this movie, I might not be as engaged as I was, because I needed somebody with a different perspective. And why does the kid have to have no dad? Like, would it change this movie at all, Travis, if he had two parents but they were both busy? I mean, would that really change how we felt and how the movie plays out?
I mean, I'd be curious if in the book whether there's a dad figure or not. I'm guessing not. But the incessant need for all animated films, regardless of the studio, to bring us a kid who is either an orphan or only has one parent, like it is a bit much. But I like that they didn't harp on where the dad was. You kind of have to infer the kid Hogarth has this helmet throughout much of the film, and I realized like halfway through the film, like, oh shit, that's his dad's helmet. His dad died in the Korean War. Of course.
I wonder why he put that fucker on in bed. I didn't understand.
Makes sense. Once you thought of that, once I thought of that, I'm like, oh, they didn't need to tell us where he went. They showed us, which is brilliant.
It's kind of clever, actually.
Yeah. It is.
I like that you brought that up, because while it's not important that the dad is no longer around, I'm not sure we get that much in terms of like how not having a father figure anymore affects Hogarth. Like, we don't get any scenes of like him missing him, thinking about him, or not having a father figure to help him navigate the world at this point. He just kind of hops in, finds the robot.
But again, I think we're shown that because, for one, he's very open to this robot who is scary and almost kills him on the first meeting. So he's pretty open to that robot. And he's very open to Dean, the hipster weirdo on the edge of town who is just all too cool with a little kid showing up on his doorstep in the middle of the night. I think that Hogarth shows us that he is looking for a father figure in both the Giant and Dean.
I will be your father figure.
Put your tiny hand in mine, Hogarth. Hoghud.
Hoghud. I gotta talk about this. So
Please
what we really made me think about was how bad. There's not a lot of sympathy for boomers these days. It feels like I put that mildly, probably. But the time they grew up in was brutal. I mean, there really was this fear of nuclear war, and the nuclear age was a brand new thing back then. And this movie brings you back to that. It's a reminder, even though the movie's 20 plus years old, it takes you back to the 50s, and the Sputnik is launched, and this paranoia and a massive amount. And they do a good job of kind of alluding to some of this. Movies that were about science fiction films that were about the end of days and impending doom and the Cold War. They were allegories and shit like that. So I think I actually feel a little bit bad for boomers, just a little bit more than I originally did before I watched this movie, because that was serious shit. And this movie does a great job of taking us back to the time.
I agree. I think that there should be more movies set in 1957. I hadn't really considered it until watching this movie. Just what an intense year or so that would have been for Americans with Sputnik happening. You know, the Soviets had got the hydrogen bomb a few years before that. We haven't even started the space race. For the first time. Like we're seeing our newly emergent global dominance strongly threatened, and in the firm belief that threat is going to come in the form of nuclear annihilation. And you get everyone from Kent Mansley, who it makes sense, this federal character, everyone from him to Hogarth's friends are like, hey, communism bad, different, must be communism, bomb it, bomb.
Yes. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And that's why I think the films, you know, in that essence stands this test of time early in this conversation, because what other film was handling this type of subject matter, especially in 1999? Like, I remember my mother telling me how afraid she was when she would see pictures of Nikita Khrushchev.
13 Days came out the year after this. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
The
whole duck and cover thing. You got to imagine how a real duck and cover training a drill was back in this time.
Yes. Matinee. You ever seen Matinee?
That's why I bring up Joe Dante, because he's all about like it's nostalgia based with fear of the time and the era. And one thing this film does really well, which I think critics didn't really understand, was a lot of critics like accuse this of being like anti-American because there was this fear of the government in the entire film of the Iron Giant, and there was this case to be made about the simplicity of regular Americans. But I think they're missing the point here. I mean, this is people that are scared, and it's a paranoid environment in general. But there's no real bias here implicating anyone in the film. But that's what I think Brad Bird does a good job of portraying.
I think it's more about the guy who has the power exploiting that power for his own personal paranoia and fear. The Kent Mainsley character is clearly the most hardcore anti-communist extremist person in this film, and unfortunately he has a position of power where he'll lie. I mean, he says a kid's murdered, he lies about that. Like, this guy is it's not about the government, it's about people in government more specifically.
Well, and you could go from Joe McCarthy to Vladimir Putin. The power of one man to wield that kind of power in a negative way and have that affect everybody else who's just like trying to do their thing. I mean, that can have profound impacts. Going back to Sputnik real quick, I love that the movie opened with you see Sputnik, the Iron Giant rockets right by Sputnik. But then again, going back to the nuclear stuff, one of the things I also really liked about this movie is everyone's like urging the use of nuclear weapons. Like it's not that big a deal. Like, let's get this shit going. Mansley's like calling it in. And at one point the army's ready to call it in when the Iron Giant is in running distance. I mean, Hogarth literally just ran from town for like 3 minutes to like right there. And everyone's like, okay, now it's safe to do it. Which is like dumb, but it makes sense. Because at the time, most people did not fully appreciate the scope and size of atomic weapons, and let alone the nuclear fallout, the radiation fallout. And two, a lot of people still just thought of them as like, well, it's like you'd use a grenade. This is a big grenade. It's not a big deal. It's a weapon. You use weapons.
Right. It's like a gung-ho nation. It's like a final solution, and a be-all, end-all. Yeah.
Sounds like a good documentary title, by the way. Did you know that Brad Bird, the director of this film, his sister died at the hands of a gun from her husband, and that's why he came up with this idea, apparently. That's one of the stories on IMDb trivia.
With guns being the bad guy in the movie.
What if a gun had a soul and didn't want to be a gun?
That's it.
That's basically it, isn't it?
That is it.
Makes a lot of sense to me. Yeah, I think. Sorry about his sister dying, but we got a great, he got a fascinating piece of art out of it. So,
well, you can dissect that with any monster. I mean, Travis, you're the big Shelley expert here, and there's so many allusions to Frankenstein here that it's not even funny. And for me, to be honest with you, we can get into those, but that's where. And I hate to be one of the very, very few like critics narratively about the film. A lot of it is very familiar in terms of the the pathos of the big monster and the seeing that, like, it's just like when Frankenstein, when the creature throws the girl into the pond, like seeing the danger, all of this
in
stuff.
the movie.
In the movie, forgive me. Yeah, from the James Whalian aspect of the thing, but like, yeah, a lot of it admittedly does seem like I've kind of seen this before when it comes to the whole does it hold up nowadays. We've seen this many times.
Yeah, but I imagine there are people that read Frankenstein and went, gothic shit again. Romanticism. Oh, she's talking about the fucking Alps again. Let's hear more about the Alps, Mary. Like, right. I read that in your travel log that you wrote a couple years ago. Boring. I mean, I think that we could make that argument for anything. We're talking about like tropes. Now, I do agree that there is some of this that is familiar. And as I already pointed out, I think that the book came out in 1968 could have some stuff to do with that. That all
The
being
story of the
said,
movie bears little resemblance to the book, apparently, based on
okay,
the trivia. I can't prove that, but that's what it
okay,
says.
I believe it. I haven't read the book. But that all being said, the reason I love Frankenstein is not because I think that this is the template for this kind of movie or in story and everything after should look the exact same, and we don't need to retread this ground. Quite the opposite. I find explorations of personhood and what constitutes a soul or a person, I find that fascinating in my day-to-day life. It's partly why I love dogs so much. So when we're dealing with it in cinema and fiction and that kind of stuff, I can return to that well over and over again and be fascinated every time. And the whole scene here when Hogarth is explaining to the giant that that Hogarth is going to die, that the giant might die, and that souls don't die. Like I got a little verklempt. And the idea being that, like, what does it take to have a soul? Maybe I don't think it takes that much. I think that if you can love and be loved, then you've got a soul.
If you could take a poop, you have a soul. That's good for me.
That's deep, dude. Thanks for
Socrates
piggybacking on my point there. I do think that people can not love and have a soul, for the record. I don't think you have to be loved. I think you can be unloved and have a soul, for the record. But I think that the capacity helps.
Yo, Pete Townsend was one of the executive producers on this from The Who.
It's true.
No, I didn't know that.
Fun. Yeah, that's a little fun fact. He also did a concept album based on the book. So I guess he was a big fan of the book originally.
Jeez.
Clearly.
The original, the book called The Iron Man, which for good reason they changed it to The Iron Giant in America.
Yeah, this movie also has they mix in historical reality too. Like the Jack Parr show was a real show. And I think that was the actual audio from the show with the animated television.
That's awesome.
Happening simultaneously. Sputnik, of course, you mentioned. So, and the town is called Rockwell, which is clearly a Norman Rockwell reference.
Yeah.
And it is. It's probably the type of town he would have painted. But there are periods of the movie where it's just kind of standard fare and it's not reinventing anything. And I don't think it has to either. I just found parts where the kid's going through his kid shenanigans to be a little bland for my taste, but that's a personal choice. This movie's doing what any other film usually does with a film. But you mentioned the Spider-Verse movie. That's about a kid. It is teenager, kid, adolescent. And that one doesn't really lose me as much as this one does. So I guess it can be done well.
Yeah, but I mean, that kind of gets to my point about the animation style, which you wouldn't want to superimpose the Spider-Verse's animation style onto this, because the whole reason that the Spider-Verse is so chaotic is because you're literally introducing these multiple universes and approaches, and so you're going to blend all kinds of different styles together, but it makes for an incredibly appealing visual feast. Whereas this, you have to get invested, or else what you're looking at is not going to maintain your interest. You have to get invested in the story and come to care about the characters.
Yeah.
This was a little more agency for the mother too. Rachel, Jennifer's character here.
Rachel.
Like she is a cool mother. I call her Rachel from Friends. Sorry,
she's
Jennifer.
So trusting. Hey,
know you.
Kent Mansley, nice to meet you. Here, live in my house. Spend time alone with my child.
My child.
I think she was horny. I just think she was really horny. And that Kent Mansley may be a douchebag, but man, he's a sexy motherfucker.
Well, he's got quite a jaw. Chin. That chin, yeah.
Gorgeous.
It's like a clown's shoe.
I don't know, man. Like, I'm watching this some 23 years later, and I'm kind of in awe of the animation because it's reminding me of Max Fleischer, the old Superman cartoons, and Hank.
Which is probably
not. Are you telling a ghost story right now?
And
looks like the thing about you got a flashlight in your face. You're telling a ghost story.
It's this pine evergreen mist scented candle. I mean, kind of sounds like it kind of
everyone's
like
got candles. Shit.
Yeah, everyone's got them, dude.
Left out.
It is timeless. Yeah, the animation style is timeless, which I guess is what I was trying to get at earlier. In that, and on one hand, that's a little tried and true, but you're right. It also kind of makes it feel.
I think that's the point. Like Rockwell, Maine feels timeless, and it's got like this 30s, 40s. Like every single person, especially according to their occupation, looks a certain way. They're either short, or they're big, or they're skinny, or they're smug, or they're brainy. And like you don't see a lot of movies taking the time to make every single character look different, and that's why I really like it. But above all, I mean, we're missing a huge point here. Like everybody in Rockwell is hand drawn, whereas the giant himself is computer generated, and we had never ever seen up until that point just one single character. I think maybe the rug in Aladdin was singularly animated, but until then, a main character, the giant, he's completely computer generated, and that, no pun intended, makes him otherworldly. Like every time he moves, he just looks a little different from everybody else, and you can really kind of see that, and it connects you with him. And you want to talk about a character that literally is just this like hunk of junk. Like he's this 100-foot tall, just hunk of junk robot, but to put so much emotion in every single nuance of his character is a pinnacle in animation, in my opinion. It's unforgettable.
And they do great with his face, making him express joy and anger and fear, and without doing too big of a change, which was cool. Yeah,
sure. I respect you.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
I guess we've kind of set our pieces. It's starting to seem like. I mean, is there anything else that we need to address here? I mean, does the giant kill people when he starts blowing up tanks? Because I feel like he kills a few people when he's blowing up these tanks. What do you guys think?
There's no doubt about it. The film is trying to make. I'm sorry, Mike. I'm really sorry, but the movie's trying to make this point about how guns are bad. Period. All caps. And yet, when the giant gets pissed off and he literally becomes just a death ray, he's smiting people ad nauseum, like all over the place. And I don't think it's making enough of a statement about even the giant himself is a dangerous thing.
Well, they do, because I mean, like
he thinks Hogarth is dead.
Yeah, he thinks Hogarth is dead at that point. You're right, and also he thinks that another point that he almost kills Hogarth himself and tries to remove himself from him. I actually think they do a decent job of that myself. But
yeah, that part was cool where they're playing around, and that's the first time you find out that he is a killing machine if threatened. And I thought the movie could have. I guess that's the kind of movie I like. Take a little bit more risk. Kill people, make things more dangerous, higher risk of stakes, invest me further with my emotive interest in a film. I'm always going to be that way. And they don't have to kill anybody, I guess, but when he is in that rage, we can't prove that anyone died. Someone may have died, Travis, but Probably. He clearly shows they show the violence, and they also show, which I thought they wouldn't do this, when he saves the two kids that fall off the balcony, the people aren't freaking out. They actually are cool with seeing this massive iron giant in the downtown square. That was refreshing. I dug that.
Yeah, because of what he did. But yeah, you're right. Like, I mean, it doesn't necessarily go they don't get out their pitchforks and torches the way you kind of think that maybe they would.
Yeah.
Which is good. They're not as intolerant as you think that they're going to be.
Yeah, which may not be accurate for the 50s, but okay, whatever.
No, I wasn't there. But
I've read some things here and there.
Yeah, I've read some things. That's true. Yeah, so I think we've kind of hit most of the points. Yeah, right. Is there anything else you guys want?
The socio-political part. I'm good. Yeah, I covered the Luke angle.
I like the Superman and references here, that those make sense to the era. Again, I'm thinking I might, I have the end of my semester coming soon, so I kind of have a few days to kill with my students again, which means I did just show my seniors a movie, but I have to show my freshmen a movie. Well, I'm going to show them one soon. I might show them The Iron Giant. We're in the 60s, so it's a little past where we are, but we did just cover this stuff a couple weeks ago.
I was going to say, what is the timeline? Because didn't you do Dances with Wolves, and now you're at Forrest Gump?
Well, I teach 4 different
years, different classes.
I teach 4 different classes,
different preps, dude.
Yeah, but but yeah, there is one main class that I've referenced quite a few times. Like I showed them Dances with Wolves, and now we're at Forrest Gump. So but Dances with Wolves was, it's been like a survey course basically. So I've been doing from basically Civil War era to now.
Well, Warner Brothers showed their might because they have the Superman property, so they can put it in the movie. So good for you, Warner Brothers. Isn't that nice that you can do that? Because you wouldn't even be able to mention that if it wasn't a Warner Brothers movie. That's how fucked up this shit is sometimes.
Oh, I got another point I wanted to make too, in terms of history. I like that Mansley comes from this unexplained phenomena department. Something that gets left out of most histories of this era is just how open to the arcane and the occult and like psychic shit that the American government was in the mid-century. We were trying mind control, we were trying remote viewing, we were trying all kinds of shit that colleges had entire departments devoted to psychic research. This stuff was widely accepted for a middle chunk of our history, and I partly am envious of that when that kind of stuff was investigated that seriously. And so I thought that this character made sense from that angle. I thought that was pretty cool.
That's really cool.
Sure.
And in terms of like, any good villain should think that they are not exactly righteous, but at least doing the right thing, or what they believe should be done for their country, or any personal narrative. And yeah, it makes for a really interesting story. Especially that's why when you think about like, why is it set in 1957? But it hits all of those, man.
Yeah.
The paranoia, the fascination with
Paranoia strikes deep.
All of that stuff, Mike. Incredible.
I wrote 2 notes to this movie, guys. 2 notes. Boring hijinks. That was a note. On-off switch on a power station? Question mark?
Yeah, I made that note too.
I do have that note.
I have that note. Back to Mansley real quick. I think that a good villain also will have some humanity to him. When he turns that pot, the pot holder thing around, it's got the weird face on it, so he doesn't have to see it. I don't know. There's something I find really endearing about that moment. Another note, if we're going to list our notes before we wrap up here, I made a note to myself. I started to make a note that was like, oh, it's super weird that this metal man eats metal. Then I was like, but we're made of flesh and we eat flesh, so never mind.
Hey, I've had some great flesh in my day.
Oh,
really
I've had some real tasty flesh.
I'm not going to be shy.
I've got shitty acting in the B movie on television.
Yeah,
They
intentionally.
didn't have to do that, but they did it.
They did. You can hear it in the guy's voice. He's intentionally doing a bad
fun.
job. And what is that? That's basically, what's the name of that movie? The brain that wouldn't die, or whatever.
Yeah, one of those. Yeah.
The brain, the head that wouldn't die. Well, that's cool. Okay. Well, all right. Well, we're going to call it what it is. We're going to find out, does the Iron Giant hold up or not? I'll go first. I don't think I've gone first. Have I gone first? I went first last week, actually. But I'll go first again. I don't care. Okay. The Iron Giant made me despondent early on, and I felt the hijinks was a bit much, and I don't care. I don't care about kids running around, and they're annoying. Even though I was a child, and I do have a lot of empathy for children across the globe, I don't necessarily want to watch them for entertainment. However, there are exceptions. That kid Magnolia who raps, I was into that kid. He entertained me. That was cool.
Let me tell you about the worm.
Yeah, exactly. There's been a lot of kids on the silver screen who have brought me joy, have made me emotional in positive and negative ways. So this kid's fine. He's just kind of annoying, and that's what kids are sometimes. They are a bit annoying. Other than that, it's a rock solid film. I can't say it doesn't hold up because it's really structured well. It's sound. The pacing is pretty solid for me as well. A couple lowlights are not really worth mentioning, really. So when I look at it, I love the political and the overall global scale that this movie takes you into in a period of time, as we discussed with the 50s and nuclear war and nuclear fear, and when the bomb actually is coming, and everyone says duck and cover.
They think it's going to work, except for the military man who's like, "What are you fucking talking about?" Of course,
I mean, him and Dean are like, "Come on, we're screwed. It's over."
Yeah,
and
the beatnik and the general, they're the only ones that have a sense of reality.
Exactly. Yeah, you're right. And that's refreshing. And it did get to me. I kind of wish that there wasn't the final scene there. I kind of wish the giant was just gone for good, because I started to break that down too. Okay, he goes to meet the bomb and it explodes, but he stops it from coming to Earth. He would be incinerated. Like, there wouldn't just be leg parts and head parts. It would all be incinerated. most likely, but that's a
back
nitpick.
into the atmosphere. Of course, he didn't burn up in the atmosphere the first time, so maybe I guess he's resistant to that.
The aliens who created him. There's a whole backstory there. I kind of would be into a prequel possibly. Anywho, this movie holds up. It's an enjoyable animated film.
All right. I'll go ahead and jump in second since this was my pick. I am really glad that I chose it. I think that I would have revisited it soon anyways, because I kind of been thinking about it for a while. But we were so overdue to finally have an animated film on here. And I love family movies. I do, man. If they're done right, I love family movies. I love all genres of movies because I love movies. I can watch any genre. I don't give a fuck.
Really?
Any fucking genre, anything. Show it to me. I'll probably be into it. If it's well made, if it's good, then I'll be on board. And this is an extremely concise, professional, slick, but not in a way that is insincere or inauthentic. This is an extremely this hits all the heart vibes, all the heartstrings, there's a real soul to this movie, but it doesn't feel contrived. It doesn't feel slick. But at the same time, it's so well pieced together. And yeah, there is some familiar elements here. There is some things where I can't tell if it was influenced by or whatever. Well, whatever. This is a wholly entertaining film that says important things about life, about American history, and does a really good job of being historically contextualizing what's going on here. Absolutely holds up. I really like The Iron Giant.
Wow, you've said it. You've said so much, man, and you bring up so many great points. Especially for '99, man, because like I said before, animation was in a weird spot where we're kind of passing the baton between traditional hand-drawn animation and this new computer-generated stuff. And in a way, what this does is it takes familiar ideas and brings them into the 21st century. There's certain stories and tropes that are never going to go away. Children that have to come of age, especially if they are missing any type of parental figures, that need to, find someone that can help them get to the next step. This is a great movie about having compassion in outsiders. Mm-hmm. And that can speak on so many levels that we don't even, that you can get to on your own. I think that's why this speaks to a lot of people. It's about alienation, not just in Hogarth, but in the giant himself. Mm-hmm. And they do that visually. And Brad Bird, for a first time animation feature director, this is an absolute fucking home run. There's a reason why he is animation royalty. Yeah. And it's just incredible, man. Would I have a couple of questions in the story room? Maybe we could see how Hogarth acts around his peers in school, and we have some of his frustrations about living with an obviously frustrated single mother. Yeah, but if we did that, we would just be E.T. because that's Elliot's situation. His problems already deal with that. And we've seen that before. So why don't we just have fun with this sci-fi story that is not dissimilar to any movie you've seen under the 50s late night television banner, and have fun with it. But say a lot about gun violence and gun play, which not a lot of movies were doing in the 90s, especially considering the 80s were all about gun foray and gun exploitation and kind of like gun savory. It was pretty yucky. So to see any movie that talks negatively about gunplay, obviously the symbolism being that a weapon is good. That's why I think this film holds up, because it for an animated movie, it has something to say. It's not fucking fart jokes. It's incredible, man. You could show it to kids nowadays, and they would tell you that it just came out last weekend, man. I encourage any parent to show them this film for so many reasons. I think it absolutely holds up, and I give it a complete tip of the hat. Very nice.
All right.
I was looking for a note. I couldn't find it.
I give it 5 sniffs of the candle.
I give it 5 evergreen tree huffs. Atomic age. Did I say that? I don't know. Who cares?
All right. Now that word has officially been used in this podcast.
There we go. Atomic age.
Hey, all right.
3 holds up, man. We're on a roll in this show. We think everything holds up lately.
A lot of unity here.
Yeah.
A lot of support.
Well, I take that back. We didn't all think 8 Mile held up. But other than that, it's been a pretty good run.
Poor 8 Mile. There it is. The Iron Giant in the can, episode 101 on the March to 200. Thank you, Travis, for selecting that fascinating film. And next week, we will have a guest for Eric Brandstrom as he is off. In fact, Eric will not be on the show again until April.
Damn,
Well,
I'll be out for the next 2 weeks. Next week, I'll be in Florida, and then I have to chaperone the 5th graders for a 5th grade camp. So, damn.
Wow. Yeah, I've heard 5th grade camp. The raids, man, those were fun. Woo.
I got to shut down the raids. I literally have to be the guy that say no raids. If you're thinking about going to the girls' camp, you can't do that. I will stop you.
Now, I do remember when I went to 5th grade camp, there was one like coached raid where it was like a raid that we thought we were doing illegally, but it was actually like one well monitored raid.
It was staged
and
total
and
horseshit.
staged, but I fell for it at the time, and it kept us from having to from doing it on our own. So that's an idea.
I was happy. I still square dance with Kim Maynard. No complaints here.
Oh, I square dance with Rachel Malkowski.
I would have no complaints about square dancing with Kim Maynard. That's for sure.
I envy you. I envy both of you.
I think I square danced by myself.
I had no pubes.
Oh,
I was
maybe
10 years old, no pubes. So
Oh,
yeah, it was all
that's
very innocent.
good, man. That's
It
normal.
was. My life was innocent and carefree. I was a lucky boy. To be young. Okay, so next week, Eric won't be here, and Christian Herminski's going to sub in, a great guest host, a good friend, a wonderful friend who has
I said great. You said good.
I did say good. He actually updated our logo a while ago.
Yeah.
The Cinema 9 logo. He's done a lot of work.
That's
He's
him.
taken a great interest in the show. He has a lot more invested in this show than you may realize. So, what's it going to be, Eric? Give it to us.
Yeah, what are we watching?
Gentlemen, the time has come. We've been flirting with this for a little while, and my good friend Christian is finally here to bring it to the head of the table, man.
Many Saints of Newark?
Excuse me?
No, I'm just kidding.
No, we all think that sucks. My friends, I got to tell you right now, he is going with the Best Picture Oscar winner of 1999. That's right. Don't placate me like I'm your mother, boy.
Yeah,
it's American
boy.
Beauty.
Wow. Huh. Okay, this movie, boy, for a
Lot of
time,
talk.
it was everything. This
huge.
movie came in. Yeah, it was huge.
Floating bag. Most incredible thing people have ever seen. Come on.
Alan Ball, Sam Mendes.
Yeah. Keep going, man. Everything.
Yeah. Wow. All right. Another spacey film.
Yep.
It's a spacey year.
Spacey
A lot of
Fest
caveats
2022.
next week. I'm going to miss out on all the caveats.
Yeah, I think you're
we made
lucky
them.
you're not going to be on this episode, Eric, because
Probably.
this movie does have some instant problems before we even watch it. But
Damn.
All right.
will it hold up? Maybe.
Will it hold up? American
I won't
Beauty.
rule anything out. I won't.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool. Well, looking forward to doing that. We'll miss you, Eric. Thank
We
you,
will.
everyone, for joining us.
Good boy.
And again, please rate, review, do all the things so we can get other people listening to our show. We'd appreciate it. Anything else that we need to cover, fellas?
I'm just wishing you guys the best, man. It's going to be 2 weeks without you. You know I love you. I love the show. Best of luck. Thank you, anybody over the next 14 days that listens, comments, anything, man. We appreciate you. And keep checking us out, man. These guys are going to deliver in my stead.
We'll do the best for your stead.
We stay, you go.